Hello everyone and welcome to Medical Terminology. My name is Carissa Legg and I'm going to be your instructor for the next 5.5 weeks as we navigate through this course and what it means to work with in medical terminology. So you are in this course because you are going into some kind of field that will require that, whether that's nursing, medical assisting, surgical technology, HIT, whatever the case might be, this is the start of your journey. So this course is meant to give you sort of the basic foundations of medical terminology, but it will require you to do some outside work, specifically when it comes to your memorization of these terms. So what I like to do in my weekly course announcements is go over the readings and the important pieces within that reading. So for Module 1, we're looking at the basic elements of the medical language. So for that, it's all going to start with Chapter 1. And it's important to know that the language of medicine is a specialized vocabulary that is used by healthcare providers. How these elements are combined and whether all or some of them are present determines the meaning of a word. In order to understand the meaning of medical words, it's really important that we look at and we learn how to divide them into their basic elements, which are suffixes, word roots, prefixes, and combining forms. So let's go ahead and take a look at each one of those now and get a better understanding of them. So we're going to start with the topic of word roots. So word roots are really the foundational term within the word, and it contains its primary meaning. Most of the time, your word root is going to come from a specific location or a specific department or unit system within the body. If you look at in your book, Table 1-1, it will provide you with more examples of word roots, and that's going to be on pages 36 and 37 of your e-textbook. If you don't know how to access your e-textbook, please let me know during either our first live lecture or send me an email, and I can help you access that. Most of our medical terms are derived from Greek and Latin languages, which is why some of them sound a little bit different, but also why some of them have multiple terms that mean the same thing. So for example, here we've got the term dermatos. Dermatos is Greek, and that means skin. But then we also have the Latin version, which is cutis, or cutane, which again means skin. So basing on whether it is a Greek or a Latin term is why we get multiple terms or multiple word roots for the same meaning. The next topic that we're talking about is combining forms. Now, a combining form is when a word root is combined with a vowel. And the combining vowel has no meaning on its own, but does enable two or more words or word elements to be connected, and it does so to make it easier to pronounce the word. A combining form is a basic foundation to which other words or word elements are added to build a complete medical term. Typically, we're going to use the combining vowel of an O, but sometimes depending on the condition or the word root, it could be an I. So for example here, we've got the term nephr. Now nephr means kidney. But when we add the O, it makes it so we can combine it with other things to make it easier to say. For example, nephrology. Nephr means kidney. Ology, L-O-G-Y, means the study of. But if you put that together, it's not easy to say. So we add that combining vowel, combining form of an O to make it easier to pronounce. So nephrology. Now, we also have nephritis here on the screen, I-T-I-S, which is a suffix that means inflammation. But because it already starts with a vowel, we do not need to add an additional vowel. So nephritis is an inflammation of the kidney. No combining form is needed there. Moving along, the next topic we're going to talk about is prefixes. Now, it's important to know that not all medical terms have a prefix. A prefix will usually indicate a number, time, position, direction, or negation. And it's also important to know that many of the prefixes that we use in medical terminology are also used in our English language. So, a prefix is a term that is added to the beginning of the word. And I can always remember that because P-R-E, means before. So we're going to add this before our word root. So for example, here we've got the term anesthesia. A-N is our prefix. A-N means without or not. Esia, means feeling. And I-A is the suffix that means condition. So altogether, this term means the condition of not feeling, which is exactly what anesthesia is. It is something that is used to put you to sleep so you don't feel during a surgical procedure. Here are some basic guidelines that you should be using when it comes to medical terms. First and foremost, when you're defining or building a medical term, you want to make sure that you follow these steps. The first thing that you should do, and it sounds a little crazy, but start at the back of the word and work your way forward. So the first thing you really should do is look for the suffix of the word, or the ending of the word. Then define the word part itself. So we go from outside, first, middle. So define the suffix or the end, then define the prefix or the beginning, if there is one, and then define the middle of the word. And that will help to break down that medical term for you so you can fully understand it. After you define your word, then you build it. Makes common sense. So after you have defined it, so you define the suffix, you define the prefix, and you define the word root, now we're going to build it back up. So the first thing is a word root links the suffix that begins with a vowel. And that typically is going to be a combining form. So root word plus an O will link a suffix to the word root. You only need to use the word vowel, combining vowel O or I, if the suffix begins with a constant. So ology, if you remember that example, it starts with an L, that is a constant. You would need the O there. But if the suffix begins with a vowel, like itis, I is the beginning of that, you don't need that combining form. And then rule number 3, a combining form will link one root to another root to form a compound word. So, for example, something like gastroenterology, that is linking two word roots together, and we would do that even if the second word root begins with a vowel. So now there are some activities at the end of each of your chapters that you can do to help you with your more with knowledge and the basics of this topic. So I would tell you that if you are someone who's brand new to medical terminology, it's probably a good idea to take some time and really go through each of the weekly chapters and the end of the chapters to get more knowledge and more of a secure base of your medical terms. Now, we're going to talk about Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is dealing with suffixes. So, a suffix, again, is something that is added to the end of a word root or a combining form, which will change its meaning. So whenever you change the suffix, you change the meaning of the word. Words that contain more than one word root are also known as compound words, and multiple roots within a compound word are joined together with a vowel, typically an O, regardless of whether or not that second word root begins with a vowel or a consonant. It would be a wise idea, again, for you to check out Table 2-1 and 2-2 in your textbook. Table 2-1 will give you the review of word roots and combining forms with suffixes. And Table 2-2 will review compound words with suffixes. Suffixes are typically used to notate three different categories: a surgical procedure of some sort, a diagnostic procedure, or a pathological procedure. Surgical suffixes describe a type of invasive procedure performed on the body part, and Table 2-3 in your book will give you some common surgical suffixes. Diagnostic suffixes will describe a procedure performed to identify the cause and the nature of an illness, and those can be found on Table 2-4. And pathological suffixes describe an abnormal condition or disease. We also have some grammatical suffixes, and these are suffixes that are attached to the word root to form parts of speech. So things like adjectives or nouns. So in this example we have here, we have the term pathological. Path is the word root, O is our combining form, and logical, log, is actually the suffix, but we add the ICAL, which is the grammatical suffix for us to say pathological. And lastly, we have Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is going to be talking about suffixes. So we already kind of touched on this just a little bit, that a prefix is something that becomes at the beginning of a word. So suffixes go at the end, prefixes go at the beginning, and in the middle you have a word root. When broken down, we see a prefix, word root, and a suffix all make up a medical term. So we have an example here on the screen. We have the term prenatal, and it does in fact have a word root, a suffix, and a prefix. The prefix here is actually pre, P-R-E, and that means before. Our word root is nat, or nato, and that is birth. And then al is our suffix, and that means pertaining to. So prenatal means pertaining to the time or the period before birth. So that would be the entire pregnancy leading up to birth. So just like suffixes, prefixes have many different types or many different notations. The common ones that we see are position, number, measurement, or direction. And again, I listed the tables here that you can find examples of those in your e-textbook. So that's Table 3-2, 3-3, and 3-4. All right, so what I like to do at the end of all of my course announcements is talk about some of the homework assignments that you will have for this week. So you will have for this week a discussion board and a live classroom assignment. Your discussion boards are two parts. So I would highly recommend that you are checking your course calendar for specific due dates, because the discussion board itself can only have one technical due date, and that is Saturdays. And that is when everything is due for that discussion board. But that's also when the discussion board closes. However, the initial posting that you have to make is going to be due on Tuesdays. So for Module 1, I did in fact give an example of what I'm looking for when it comes to an initial discussion board. How you should be answering the questions, what that formatting should look like, and how you should be writing those. Again, those are due on Tuesdays. For Module 1, I've left it open so you can view that. However, moving forward, in weeks 2 through 6, you will have to do your initial posting first before you will see any other student work. And that is so I can prevent any cheating or copying of work, which is then considered plagiarism. So again, initial discussion posts are due on Tuesdays, and then you will have to reply to 2 classmates by Saturday. It is a requirement to have 2 reply posts. You can always check the course calendar, again, for specific due dates, but you can also check the assignment for rubrics that I will use in order to grade your work. I do apologize, this got inset and I didn't mean for it to, but you do have a quiz this week as well. One of the things that I always recommend when it comes to your quizzes is that you are given a study guide prior to the quiz. I would highly recommend taking that study guide, creating flashcards for those study guides, so that way that you can quiz yourself at any point in time prior to taking your test. There's also interactive activities that you should be taking prior to doing your test, so that way when it comes to you actually taking the quiz, you are ready for that. Quizzes are due on Sunday, and you only get one attempt at your quiz. Now, if you do your quiz and it will not give you what you got wrong, but if you would like to know that, please reach out to me, and I will gladly send you the questions that you got wrong and the corrected answers. And then you will have a live classroom assignment that is going to be due on Sunday as well. What you'll need to do is watch the Module 1 live classroom or attend it live. Again, check your course calendar for when those are going to be, so that way that you can either attend it or find the recording link for it. And then during that recording, or if you're watching it live, at some point a code question will appear on the screen. What you'll do for your live classroom assignment is put the answer to the code question in the Dropbox. All right, guys, that is what I have for Module 1. I hope that you are all ready for this exciting and jam-packed 5.5 weeks. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please always reach out to me either course messaging or via email. Have a great week 1, guys. Bye.